Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I'm Frater Autrius Horse with Lance and Grail Priory TTO. Welcome back and Merry Crowleymas. I've got a very special episode tonight to celebrate the 146th anniversary of the lesser feast of our prophet Aleister Crowley. I'll be unboxing a complete set of Jerry Edward Cornelius's Red Flame, Thelemic Research Journal series. I first became aware of Jerry about 12 years ago when I first joined the OTO. Being curious about the Gnostic Mass, the master of the Oasis I was a member of loaned me a copy of Red Flame No. 2, Mystery of Mystery, a primer of Thelemic Ecclesiastical Gnosticism, and it was a fantastic introduction to Liber 15. Shortly after my second degree initiation, Jerry republished a revised and expanded edition of Red Flame No. 7, The Magical Essence of Aleister Crowley. Still being wet behind the ears, as it were, there was a lot in that book to unpack, and a lot of it went way over my head, but I knew there were many deeper mysteries in there to explore and understand as I continued down my path of initiation. A few years ago, I stumbled across a couple of copies of Jerry's Cornelia, the magazine of the magical, mystical, and often personal writings of J. Edward Cornelius and Associates at an eBay auction. I was eventually able to acquire all 21 issues of that series, including the rare issue number 0 that Jerry released to celebrate his 56th birthday. Since then, Jerry and his beautiful wife Erica have continued to publish deep and thought-provoking examinations of Crowley, Thelema, and the OTO system of initiation, among many other topics, in their series Essays, which is currently up to issue number 9 of a projected 10-issue set. They've also written numerous other books, and I will leave a link to their website and a list of their publication down in the comments below. Jerry states on his website that in 1993 he began formulating plans for a large formatted publication. Each issue is actually a book in itself, 200 plus pages centering on a single topic. There's a total of 13 issues in the series released from 1993 to 2002. 4 of these have been subsequently republished. The original run was limited to 156 copies per issue and are rare and hard to find these days, some being next to impossible to find for sale on the open market. It has long been my goal to acquire a complete set, and I am proud to announce that that goal has been accomplished. So without further ado, let's get to unboxing. Alright. So I have been saving these up for the last couple of months. I guess it's probably been closer to 3 or 4. What got this started is one night I got the weekly catalog update email from J.D. Holmes Publishing, and he had on his Secret Hands sale list a copy of issue number 8 on Liber Alva Legis, and I had not seen a copy of that for sale in as long as I can remember, so I jumped on it, snatched it up. And that's what got all this started. So once I had a copy of that, let's see, this comes later on in the, oh wait, they're all together here. Oh, these are actually 3 volumes from one seller, so let me liberate the first one we're going to start with here. Carefully. So yeah, since I had ended up finding a copy of number 8, it kind of inspired me and spurred me to see if I could complete the collection, which I was lucky enough to be able to do. Some of them are extremely hard to locate. But where there's a will, there's a way, as they say. Am I right? I think in a lot of ways, books are like magicians, and magicians are like books. That is, magicians want books, and books want to be with magicians. So it is not hard to, if you put it out there to the universe, in my experience, the universe will respond. Alright, let's see. What we got here. We're going to start off with Red Flame number 1, the poetry of Grady Lewis McMurtry. This is, as you'll see when I get to some of the other ones, this is actually a second edition or second printing? Second edition. Okay, and let me refer to my notes here. The first edition was published in 1994. I know that one was a issue of 156 copies. This is the second edition, published in 2001. Dedicated in the loving memory of Grady Lewis McMurtry, 1918 to 1985. It does not have a stated limitation in it, but I am pretty sure this is a one of 156. I don't know. I got a little shine on the where I have my light and camera set up. I'm not sure if that is clear enough to read, but if it is, feel free to pause and check it out. Book is devoted entirely to the late Grady Lewis McMurtry, who ran Aleister Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis as Frater Homanius Alpha 777 from 1969 until his death in 1985. Awesome. We've got a new forward here for the second edition. Some background information here. And poetry is the geyser of the unconscious, Aleister Crowley. Okay, well, we're going to start off with something that profound right off the bat. Alrighty then. Where are we going to go from here? I'm a big fan of Carl Jung, and Carl Jung says that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule you and you will consider it fate. So that's, I really like this quote by Crowley here. And we have a nice selection of Grady's poetry. We'll have to get into this. I'm not big on poetry, to tell you the truth. I'm not a big fan of Crowley's poetry. I found a poet a few years ago. His name is Red Hawk, who I think is just absolutely the most amazing poet I've ever read in my life. And really, until a few weeks ago, was the only poet I could honestly say that I enjoyed reading. And then something got me to looking at Charles Bukowski, of all people. And I've heard of Bukowski and knew who he was for as long as I can remember, but finally looked up some of his poetry the other day, and I'm happy to say he's now my second favorite poet that I've read so far. So interesting to see if Grady might be the third. So there we go. Issue number 1. Okay. Let me see. I've got a pile of boxes over here next to me, so I'm kind of running out of room to set things. Alright. This next one here might be a bit of a mystery. Let's take a stab at it, and I believe it is going to be in this package. Yes, this is the correct box. One of these. Tell you what, I thought some of the other packages I've opened on some other videos were wrapped well. I think I could take all the boxes and packaging from the last 4 videos I've made and build an apocalyptic anti-zombie bunker with it all. Or at least wrap myself in bubble wrap and go roll down a hill. That might be fun too. See if I can. There we go. Alrighty. Here we go. The book that started it all for me. The Red Flame. Thelemic Research Journal number 2, Mystery of Mystery, a primer of Thelemic Ecclesiastical Gnosticism. This was a very popular edition because this is the second printing, I believe. Let's see. Yes. Second edition from 2001. First edition was originally published in 1995. This is an introduction to Thelemic Gnosticism. It has a little short history of the Gnostic Catholic Church. We have a breakdown and examination of the different sections of the Gnostic Mass, and a little short biography of all the saints of the Gnostic Catholic Church that is very interesting to read. Got a little ding on the corner here, but you know, I'm not complaining for a book that's what, 20 years old now. This is the book that introduced me to Jerry, and the book that got me started on keeping up and following everything he's published over the years. And while we have this, I want to also show this. This is a nice limited edition copy of Mystery of Mystery that was put out by Conjoined Creations. This was published in 2014. It is copy number 75 of 93. And basically it's a revised and somewhat expanded edition of this. It was reprinted in a nice limited hardback for those who were not fortunate enough to have a copy of the original. And this was my first and only copy of Mystery of Mystery until I got this one. So I'm very happy to have a copy of both of these in my collection. And I should have planned ahead a little bit better and made some room over here, but we'll make do. Okay, what do we have next? Now I am back to I'm not sure. I'm taking a stab at it. This may not be. This may not be the book I'm looking for. We should find out. Oh, well, let's see here. Nope, this is not. This is the one that comes after the one I'm currently looking for. It's not that one. Oh. A couple of these boxes I had opened when they first arrived because they were from eBay, and I wanted to make sure I got what I paid for, but as you can see, I haven't unwrapped them yet. Okay, not that one. Not that one. Okay. Maybe it is in this massive pillow of a package. I'm not even sure where to start on this. Start my recycling center. I love packages. I love getting packages and opening packages. It's like Christmas. Christmas at least 12 times a year, right? We have two here. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Here we have issue number 3, Friends and Acquaintances of Aleister Crowley. This is the original format, which is an oversized paperback, just to compare it with the second editions that we have opened so far. This is my first edition. Issue number 3, first edition, limited to 156 copies, copyrighted 1996. It is dedicated to Jerry's son Faustus, born January 10th, 1996. Yeah, I do believe this is, let's see here, some short biographical sketches of people that had known Crowley or were in some way related to Crowley, not related in a familial sense, but as The cover says friends and acquaintances. People that he knew, people that knew Crowley. A little series of short biographies of people in Crowley's life. As you can see, each one of these, even in large format, is a nice little chunk of information. Haha, awesome. There we have issue number 3. Moving on. Let me see here. Here we have issue number 4, the Aleister Crowley desk reference. Also in nice shape. A little fading to the spine there, but that's to be expected. Let's see. Red Flame number 4, limited to 156 copies. This was published in 1997. This issue is dedicated to 3 people. First, to my beloved Marlene Cornelius, who was Jerry's first wife. Second, to Robert Stein. If you've ever been to a Noticon, you've probably ran into Bob Stein. He's an eccentric guy, but he's pretty awesome. This is dedicated to Robert Stein, who, like myself, believes Crowleyana is worth cataloging. And I'm also in that illustrious club. And the third, to Louis Alvarado, for always being there. This is a listing of the works by Aleister Crowley from 1875 to 1947 in the private library of J. Edward and Marlene Cornelius. Oh, fascinating. Oh, fascinating. So this is... Oh, nice. Kind of a catalog of Jerry's library. I have a good portion of my books in my library cataloged on Library Thing. If I don't forget, I'll also add a link to that down in the description for anybody that's interested. But there is quite a bit of stuff in there that I have not gotten added yet, so it's not a complete inventory of everything I have. Believe me, I know how much work is involved in putting something like this together. Wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. This is awesome. If nothing else, this should definitely inspire me to get around to finish getting my library inventoried and cataloged. Wow, this is awesome. Oh, nice. He's got the Moda Oriflammes. I also have all of these except for Volume 6, Number 6. Still looking for a copy of that. And speaking of that, let's see what we have here under the Equinox. He has a 78 copy of number 1 through 10 and a 92 copy. Ooh, this Mandrake Press limited edition is a nice set. I've actually seen one on that's up for sale. Crazy expensive, but it's definitely a nice set. Awesome. I have a 1972 set of the Weiser edition, the limited edition, and I have a 92 set, but I am pretty sure mine isn't limited. I'm not 100% on that. I'd have to go look. I've got the Blue Equinox from 72. No, I've got a second printing of the Blue Equinox from 73. And I have a 92 Blue Equinox. Oh, this is going to be fun. Fun going through and comparing mine and Jerry's libraries. This is going to be fun. Let's see here. He also has a copy of the Moda Equinoxes. I also have a copy of the 75 and the 1990 editions of Volume 5, Number 1. What do we have here? Volume 7, Number 1, Silurian Star Publications. I don't know if I am even aware of what this is. Wow. Even more reason to really go through here and compare. Won't be surprised if I find more things I have not heard of yet, which is a lot of the reason I do these videos, is to be able to show people stuff that they may not even know exists, and hopefully inspire some people to go out and either start or continue and improve their own Crowley collection. Very interesting. Okay, this is going to be fun. Okay, we're going to have to move on, or I'm going to sit here and flip through this thing all night. Wow. Okay. Yeah. This was also republished by Teitan Press. And let's see here. This was republished in 97, originally published in 97. This is republished in 2013. Second revised edition. There is a 93 edition hardcover that unfortunately I do not have a copy of yet. This is one of the 418 copies of the soft cover, of which this is 309. So, second revised edition. Same thing, more stuff in it. What's not to love? One of these days I would like to acquire a hardbound copy. If I'm not mistaken, the hardbound copies are signed. If I'm remembering correctly, Weiser has a copy of the soft cover that's been signed. But yeah, I would definitely like to get one of the 93 editions. I mean, you can never have too many copies of the same book, right? I have 2 complete sets of the Equinox. Why? Why not? Why not? Okay, moving on. Let me see here. our next one is going to be this right here. This is one of the hard to find ones that I happened upon. Wasn't cheap, but good things rarely are. Some of you might be thinking I should probably send my postman a Christmas card for all the packages that he has had to deliver to my apartment over the years. Here we go, number 5. The Yi King, A Beastly Book of Changes. This is one of the rare ones. It's really hard to find. Edition limited to 156 copies from 1998. And, get a little view of the table of contents. This, of course, is about the Yi King, which Crowley was very fond of. He had made a set of Yi King sticks out of tortoise shell, I believe, and he would cast an oracle every day. And Grady Lewis McMurtry ended up inheriting those Yi King sticks from Crowley. And not to disparage Grady, but the story I've been told is he got drunk and lost them on a beach somewhere in Southern California, and they were never found again. Don't hate me, this is what I heard from Lon Milo Duquette, so take it with a grain of salt. But definitely, yeah, a good Thelemic version of the Yi King. Nice. I love the size and format of these. They're just really nice, hefty, thick. This copy is in fantastic shape. Looks brand new. This is one of the editions that was also republished, which I had the pleasure of picking up from Marlene Cornelius, published by her Conjoined creation imprint. I had the pleasure of picking this up from Marlene at Noticon number 9, I do believe. It has been personally inscribed to me. This edition is limited to 500 copies. Originally published as Red Flame, what was that, number 5 in 1998, limited to 156 copies. So again, same book, just republished in a nice hardback. Beautiful cover. Love the color. The color doesn't really come through the same. It's a lot more of a mustard yellow than it looks in the camera here. But yeah, it was fun to meet Marlene, and pick this up at the Noticon, and there we go. Moving on. We're starting to get into the Holy Grail versions here. I'm going to need to take my knife to the whetstone before much longer. Oh yes, I have been waiting to dig into this one. Issue number 6, the Foolish issue. Little bit corner there, a little ding to the end. You can see this, a little another spine's a little faded from being in the sun. This is a copy that's not easy to come across. This issue is dedicated to Harpo marks and the OTO initiates worldwide. Number 6, limited to 156 copies, 1999. Preface. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. We apologize to everyone whom we might offend with this issue. However, I, personally, reserve the right to impishly hold my hands over my mouth like Linda Blair did in The Exorcist after watching the priest have a heart attack and die. Love is the law, love under will. I love Jerry's sense of humor. He does not pull punches. Let's see here, let's look at some of the contents. The beastly limericks of Aleister Crowley. The Milkman Letters, Crowley's 1947 diary. The missing chapter to Magic Without Tears. Interesting. Liber worth 15 cents. The real Gnostic Catholic Mass of the American OTO. That's going to be a hoot. Of beastly illustrations, Aleister Crowley is portrayed in comic books. That's interesting. The Hymn to Spam. What is this stuff that doth jiggle in the breeze? Oh, the degree structure of Ordo Templi Orientis. I'm going to have to flip to that. Definitely. Liber Vel Causeway. In the name of the Initiator. Amen. This is kind of a parody joke issue of Jerry riffing on anything and all things Thelema and OTO. Kind of done in jest. Let's see here. I'm going to take a look at the real Gnostic Catholic Mass. Liber worth 15 cents. Of the furniture in your parlor. Of the actors in the play. Of the ceremony of the flaming trots. Oh man, this is going to be hilarious. Of the ceremony of the cloth thrown into the corner. Of the orifices in the colon, which are 11 in number. Oh man, this is going to be great. Of the constipation of the elements. Of any orifice between me and them. I like this. And dollar signs. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. Agios, Agios, Agios law. Oreos, Oreos, Oreos and milk. That's actually happened, as to my understanding, that they had an impromptu mass with Grady once, and they weren't prepared, and the only cookies they could find for the mass was some Oreos, so Grady grabbed the Oreos and blessed them, and they became the mass cakes for the mass they celebrated. You know, back in the good old days when you could get away with stuff like that. When it was more important that you were celebrating the Mass than all the emphasis and focus being on celebrating the Mass correctly and properly according to the rubric of Liber 15. You know, if you tried to just pick up and impromptu throw together a Mass with Oreo cookies these days, pretty sure HB would run you out of the OTO. Of the mystic marriage and eating of the Oreo. Oh, this is great. This is great. Aleister Crowley in comics. Awesome. The Hymn to Spam. What is this stuff that doth jiggle in the breeze and smells like that which I avoid when I walk in the stable? Hysterica of Estrus. O meaty mass of fleshy flesh, who with the dark and wild and wanton world doth mesh, in sizzling ecstasy tasty and mild, from LA to the halls of Priam, to the salty fields of Flizium. Come to me, glorious spam, thou cooked, boiled, and pressed ham. Eo spam, Eo spam! Come with eggs and toast, with bacon and duckling roast. Come wild, come sliced, come mashed, come diced. Eo spam, spam, Eo, Eo! With this key thy veil I rend, thy starry blue tin I twist and bend, that thee in thee might become the me in me tonight. That's a throwback. How many of you remember when Spam came with a little key stuck to the bottom and you had to twist it all the way around to get the top off before they started putting Spam in pull tabs? Oh, there's more. Let me continue. In thee and me I feel, as the me and thee I peel, with glee and abandon I stab my trident into the quivering flab. Eo spam, spam, Eo, Eo, Eo. With fervor and awe you relent before my furious, murderous intent. I whip, I mash, I slash, I cream thy body to consummate this dream. Eo spam, 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 Eo, Eo. I dice, I beat, I flake, I shake, I cover thee with shake and bake. Spam, oh sweet, sweet spam, never again will I slam my ham. Eo spam, Eo. Oh yay, spam my baby, come to Papa spam. Oh spam, I never dreamed. Eo spam. The secret sense of these words is to be sought in the numeration thereof. Oh, brilliant. The degree structure of Ordo Templi Orientis. 10th degree, leaps tall buildings in a single bound, is more powerful than a locomotive, is faster than a speeding bullet, walks on water, dictates policy to God. 9th degree, leaps short buildings in a single bound, is more powerful than a switch engine, is just as fast as a speeding bullet, walks on water if the sea is calm, talks with God. Oh man, I will leave the rest here. I think you can make that out if you pause it and blow it up and just let you read the rest for yourself. 0 through 3rd degree, lifts the buildings and walks under them, kicks locomotives off the track, catches speeding bullets in teeth and eats them, freezes water with a single glance, is God. Word. How can we have a unified OTO if you don't believe what we tell you? Oh my gosh. The hidden master behind the door. The man is tied up in the triangle that's labeled the Man of Earth Triad. This is so appropriate. Me and a friend of mine have been having a lot of discussions over the past few days about how the OTO, how could I put this gently? It seems almost as if the OTO is a joke on Thelemites because so much of their behavior is anti-Thelemic, yet people accept it and put up with it to be in the OTO. So I guess the joke is on them because they don't recognize the fact that you want to be part of an organization that supports the law of Thelema, which is do what thou wilt, as long as it agrees with what we agree with, and you get prior permission from us to say anything or do anything that could otherwise be construed as your will, or face the threat of expulsion. Oh wow. So yeah, that comic right there, that says a lot to me. That says a whole lot to me. Where did it go? There we go. How can we have a unified OTO if you don't believe what we tell you? Oh, Jerry, you nailed it, man. You nailed it on the head. I know this is from many years ago, and I had just ended my stint in the OTO about 3 years ago, and nothing's changed. You can take that to the bank. This, I see why this is so rare and hard to find a copy of now. There's absolutely no way I would ever part with this. This is just something you could just pull down off the shelf any day, and whenever you're depressed or needs a pick-me-up, and just flip to something and have a good laugh. My cat is the reincarnation of Raoul Loveday. Mocha, is that you? Are you the reincarnation of Raoul Loveday now? Oh, moving on. Fantastic volume. Alright, what do we have for number 7? Wonder if me swinging this knife around like I do makes anybody nervous. I'm going to slip and slide the cover off of one of these, or put a big gash down the spine or something. And here it is. The Holy Grail of Holy Grails for me. Issue number 7. The Magical Essence of Aleister Crowley. Spine's a little faded, but not too bad. This was, this issue is dedicated, oh, this one has unfortunately become separated from the cover. I probably want to take that and get that restored, so let's set it down here. This issue is dedicated to all the individuals who, like myself, believe in the future of humanity. Word. This is the new and revised edition from 1998, limited to 156 copies. This was also, part of this anyway, was serialized in the Cornelius series of magazines. There we go. Table of contents. I hope everyone can see that. This is the reason to get this book. This section here, an open epistle regarding Francis King's books, The Secret of the Rituals of the OTO, was removed from the second edition. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was at the request of the AA or the OTO1. So, yes. This is the primary reason I wanted a copy of this, is to read that one essay. Oh, definitely. Well, you know, even though the glue has failed and the cover is loose, and I probably paid a small ransom for this, so worth it. It is so worth it. And on that note, let me show you the second revised, edited, and expanded edition. I know Jerry said there was some things in the previous edition that were confusing or hard to understand for some of his students, so it was revised. A lot of new material was added to this. That chapter on secret rituals was removed. This is signed with a book plate. 777 copies. I got on the bandwagon really quick and got a number 92. You can see here the table of contents. As you can see, it has quite a bit more information in it. I read this book around, I was second degree. I think I was about probably halfway through my second degree. And for those that you don't know, OTO, between the degrees, they have a set waiting period that you have to undertake before you're allowed to move on to the next degree. And between first and second degree, it's a year. But between first and second degree is 9 months. Between second and third degree is a year. So I was somewhere within my year waiting period between second and third when I got a copy of this and read it. A lot of it went over my head, but a lot of it was just like, I know there's a lot more in here than I understand right now. I mean, Jerry goes on to discuss the word of the fourth degree and its relevance and meaning to the initiates of the fourth degree, which at the time, being a lowly second degree, I was like, what? He just gave away the secret, the word of the fourth degree. Oh my God, I shouldn't be reading this book. I'm gonna read about things I'm not supposed to know about. Yeah. So that guy that put his hooks in me at that point. I was like, yeah, Jerry, he does not pull punches. He is not afraid to talk about things that nearly every other Thelemic writer that I'm familiar with will either just avoid talking about at all, or will heavily veil what they're talking about, or give you the old, I can't talk about that, or that's above your degree. If you've been in the OTO, you know all about that. You know how that goes. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, I'm going to pause here for just a second. I'm getting a really very dry mouth, so I'm going to go grab some water. And we're just a little over halfway through. And I'll be right back, and we will pick right back up where we left off. Well, unfortunately, and much to my dismay, when I got back from getting my water, I hit the wrong button, and the entire second half of my unboxing for the rest of the Red Flames was not recorded. So, I'm just going to have to pick up where I left off and go through it all again. Unfortunately, you won't get to see me unbox them because they're all open, and I thought I was finished with everything, and I lost the second half. Ugh. Shit happens, but I'm back, and we will continue on with issue number 8. Liber Legis, the Book of the Law. This is actually the first Red Flame. I was saying earlier, this is the first Red Flame that I got a copy of, and it is what inspired and spurred me on to get the rest of them and complete the collection. But this one here, let's see here. It is, due to the subject matter of this issue, this volume is dedicated to Sora Merrill, truly a woman girt with a sword. This is limited to 156 copies, and was published in 2000. And in my previous unrecorded video, I went on a big rant about the Tunis comment here, which, as you can see, there are quite a bit of this volume is dedicated to the Tunis comment. For those who don't know, in the OTO, they take the Tunis comment quite literally. They're very fundamentalist about it, and that you don't talk about the Book of the Law in any capacity in the OTO. And I say official capacity, but in the sense that if you are a body master in anything, any class or meetup or anything like that you have that is advertised as being under your body, there's two things you don't talk about. You don't talk about the Book of the Law, and you don't talk about the Gnostic Mass. I was told once that discussion of the Book of the Law is absolutely forbidden, and discussion of the Gnostic Mass should not be done unless there is a bishop present. So there is a lot of stuff here on the Tunis comment that looks extremely interesting. The latest dance craze, the Tunis comment shuffle, OTO initiations of the Tunis comment. The study of this book is forbidden, but is there a comment? The Tunis comment, one perspective. Yeah, so the OTO takes the Tunis comment very literally, unfortunately. As a matter of fact, just today, if you ever watch Darling on YouTube, she put out a video today called The Things I Wish I'd Known Before I Become a Thelemite. And she mentioned this here about how the study of this book is forbidden. It is wise to destroy this copy after first reading. And like I was saying earlier about the OTO kind of being a joke on Thelemites, in the sense that if you are truly a Thelemite and you are doing your will, what if it is my will not to destroy this copy after first reading? What does that even mean? I know Lon has a hilarious story about the first time he read the Book of the Law, and when he was done, he went and got a bottle of Elmer's glue and glued every single page together one at a time, and he took it out in the backyard and tried to set it on fire and burn it. But I had a great heard a great talk. My first degree initiation was done by Joseph Thebus. You may know Joseph if you've spent any time in the OTO. But after the day after we had our first degree initiations, he gave a talk on the comment specifically, and he described it as this is a description and not a proscription. It is a description of things that will possibly happen to you if you don't follow the comment. Not so much as a list of thou shalt nots. You know, and the story goes that Crowley only wrote the comment because I can't remember. It was a student of his at the time. I cannot remember his name. But basically, he was bugging Crowley about the Book of the Law. And Crowley didn't want to talk about it, or he just wanted this guy to leave him alone. So he sat down and he pinned the comment and signed it as from Onkoff Nakansu. And this was considered a Class A document. And he used that to basically tell the guy to bugger off. Onkoff Nakansu obviously forbids discussion of the Book of the Law. So don't bother me. All questions of the law are to be decided by appeal to my writings. You know, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. So there's a flipping through here. There's some really good stuff in here. He's got some comments here on the Book of the Law itself. A lot of stuff about the comment. And it's funny, as fundamentalist as the OTO, especially under current leadership, is about the Book of the Law, HB took it upon himself to change the Book of the Law and change where it says Om let it fill me into Om let it kill me. I know that caused quite a stir at the time because, you know, this is a Class A. It says in here that it shall not be changed as much as the style of a letter. Personally, I don't have a huge problem with it because if I can find it here, I'm not so great at reading Crowley's handwriting, but the part where it says, here, that he was to take his poetic translation of the stele and insert it here. So it just says here, I am the Lord of Thebes, from the vellum book, blah blah blah, fill me. Unfortunately, this vellum book has been lost. It is so far has not been found in any of Crowley's diaries or anything that he left behind. There's another book. I believe it's in David Allen Hulse's Genesis of the Book of the Law, where he talks about it. That this is one of the very few pieces of material or of Crowley's diaries that have not been found and have been thought to be lost to time. But the reasoning was this was not dictated from Awas and was to be taken from Crowley's translation from his little vellum notebook or his diary. So technically, changing this from fill to kill is not changing the Book of the Law, because this was not originally part of the Book of the Law. But now, you know, that I'm flipping to it and looking at the manuscript, it does say, fill me. I guess you could maybe interpret that as kill me, but as hard as Crowley's handwriting is to read, and as sloppy as it is, that definitely looks more like an F than a K to me. So, let the debate begin on that. There is something in here I found earlier that I wanted to read. Let's see here. Let me find it. Right here. The latest dance craze, the Tunis comment shuffle. Marcelo Moda was an enigma. He was a legitimate AA member who had attracted and trained serious students. I was one, but within months of commencing work with Moda, he published his commentary to Liber Al, and I cut contact with him. And this is from Hymenius Beta himself, the outer head of the order. That I mean, that pretty much says all you need to say right there. That he cut ties with Moda, his legitimate contact with the AA, over Moda's publishing a comment on Liber. And I think that goes a long way to understanding the current OTO leadership's fundamentalist views on the Book of the Law. And don't get me started on the quote-unquote one true AA that is currently affiliated with the OTO, Gunther's branch, because Moda himself publicly stated in one of the equinoxes that he cut ties with J. Daniel Gunther over failing to live up to his oath and obligations. But that's a story for another time. Just flipping through here, I didn't see this the first time, but I think this might be interesting. We have contradictory injunctions from AC himself on this. Study is forbidden in the comment. Study constantly in the Minerval. This was either an error on AC's part, or he did it for a reason. I prefer to give him the benefit of the doubt. Everyone can come to his or her own conclusions as to what that reason might have been, and that's by Frater Sabasius. It's just interesting to me how the study of this book is forbidden. How much there's just argument over, and I won't say discussion, because obviously it's not allowed to be discussed in OTO circles, but it's a topic to think about and be examined. And really, if it's your will to discuss it, does your will supersede the comment? Or even as a free-thinking, open-minded Thelemite who is trying to do his will, does the comment take precedence over that? My personal belief, as Joseph said, I think this is a description and not a proscription. But the OTO sees it otherwise, and that's their right. But yeah, it is what it is. And that is issue number 8. On to issue number 9. Aleister Crowley in the Public's Eye. This issue is dedicated to all Crowley researchers. This is limited to 156 copies and was published in 2001. This is a list of mentions of Crowley in various media of the day. New York Times, the Evening World News, John Bull, The Patriot, the Morning Post. You know, I was just flipping through this earlier and thinking, you know, just the amount of time and effort and work that would go into collecting all of these different articles and putting them together in this book. You know, of course, I'm sure most of this, if not all of it, should be taken with a very large crystal of sodium chloride, because this is the media's view of Crowley. The return of a traitor, a foul and blasphemous propagandist. Aleister Crowley's orgies in Sicily. So I'm sure most, if not all of this, does not paint Crowley in a very favorable light. King of depravity arrives. But, you know, it's history. It's an important material that needs to be saved and not lost. You know, what if 200-300 years from now, when Crowley starts to become more a myth and a legend than a man, much like the Christians have done with Jesus. You know, it's important to have this information, to be able to look back and see what people thought of Crowley and wrote about Crowley during his life and after his life, to bring everybody back to the ground level, you know, demystify him, and to help keep the man and the message separate. I'm one of the first to say I don't agree with everything Crowley did and as a man, but you know, he is the prophet of the new aeon, and his work should stand on its own, but it's also important to understand Crowley the man and what the media of the time had to say about him. Okay, next we have here issue number 10, Jane Wolfe, Her Life with Aleister Crowley, Part 1. This issue is dedicated to the women of Thelema. May they truly be girt with a sword. This was first printing, limited to 500 copies, and published in 2003. This is a biography of Jane Wolfe. If you're not familiar with Jane, she studied with Crowley at Kefaloon in the Abbey of Thelema, and she went on to supervise Sora Merrill, Phyllis Seckler, who was also Grady's wife at one time, in the AA, and she mentored her through her probation and her neophyte. Carl Germer went on to recognize her attainment of her knowledge and conversation in the 5=6 Adept degree in AA before he passed. But here we have one half of the two-part biography of Jane Wolfe. This is part 2 of Her Life with Aleister Crowley. A shot of the table of contents. This is number 11, first printing, 500 copies, published in 2003. You know, Jane is not someone that's talked about much in Thelemic circles, especially in the OTO. I've met the last known photo of Crowley in his bed at Netherwood. Interesting. I don't think a lot of people know who Jane was, much less know anything about her. I mean, even I don't know much more about her than she spent time with Crowley at the Abbey, and then mentored Sora Merrill. I mean, here you have these 2 volumes. These are not small volumes. What are we looking at? A little over 200 pages apiece, just on Jane Wolfe. And again, tracing the lineage. She learned from Crowley, and then taught Sora Merrill, who went on to found the College of Thelema and trained such awesome guys who went on to write, such as James Eshelman and David Shoemaker, who went on to write books of their own. Yeah, this is just, it just blows me away to be able to flip through here and just wonder and amazement at the information. This is stuff that needs to be preserved for the future. I know Jerry is currently working on a book. Speaking of Grady here, we have In the Name of the Beast, a biography of Grady Lewis McMurtry, a disciple of Aleister Edward Crowley. And this is also in 2 volumes. We have Volume 1 is 1918 to 1962, and Volume 2 here is 1962 to 1985. As you can see, Grady's wine bottle has been surgically removed and replaced with a wine glass that has been grafted into his right hand. Oh man, I wish I could have met Grady. He looks like a hell of a dude. That's the picture of a man's man right there, I tell you what. And this is the portrait of an artist as a young man. This is both of these are signed by Jerry. I don't see a stated limitation in here. This is dedicated to all the friends of Grady Lewis McMurtry. This was published in 2005. I don't see a stated limitation. I know these are still currently available from Jerry and Erica. If you're interested, you can still still purchase new copies. This is where I got mine. And there was something in here that I was reading. Here it is. In my unfortunate other video that got lost. I just want to read the editorial note here a little bit. Toward the end of chapter 15, we'll discuss Grady McMurtry's views on his magical universe and how he came to believe that his cycle of poetry, known as The Angel in the Abyss, a cycle of 22 poems in honor of our great maid of the star drifts, represented his magical thesis. Grady believed that each of the 22 poems symbolized one major arcanum in Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck, but he did not put pen to paper in the traditional order of the Fool being first, followed by the Magus, and so forth. Grady let his holy guardian angel guide him as to which card or poem was to manifest first, second, and so forth. Unfortunately, due to lack of space, we cannot reproduce each poem in its entirety. If the reader wishes to fully appreciate these and many other poems mentioned throughout this biography, they should consult Red Flame No. 1, The Poetry of Grady Lewis McMurtry. And if nothing else, that alone is a good reason to have a complete set of stuff like this. You know, I don't know. Me personally, it's hard for me to sit down and just read a book like this, because I'll read something that reminds me of something I read elsewhere, or something in another book, and then I'll have to pull that book out and find it and refresh my memory, and then that more often than not reminds me or leads me to look at something else. So before you know it, I'm sitting on the bed trying to read one book, and I've got 5 or 6 books around me in piles, and with bookmarks stuck in them and notes laying around, where I'm trying to piece all these different ideas together. How just one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, and then I'm down a rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland, you know. And it's so much of stuff like this, it just refers back on itself, or refers to other books, especially when you're like reading essays, Jerry's essays, where you can't just sit down with one of them and read it straight through. I mean, it just leads off into so many other things. Maybe it's just me, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I like how these all these chapters are all titled with one of the major arcana. And that's volume 1 here, and then of course we have volume 2, which continues the theme. And you know, there's a line of history here it's slowly starting to fade away as time goes by. I mean, here you have Jane who taught Phyllis, who was at one time married to Grady. You have Grady, who learned from Crowley himself. And then Grady passed on what he knew to Jerry. Jerry's coming out with a book he's currently working on right now. He's expecting it to have it out at the first of the year. But it's about what Grady taught him about the upper degree teachings of OTO. And, it's stuff that when Grady passed, HB was only a 4th degree at the time, before he was elected as the outer head of the order. So there's stuff that HB doesn't know about the upper degrees that he wasn't given or made privy to by Grady himself. I don't know if that was passed on to him from other Gnoth degrees. I'm sure some of it was. I mean, there's stuff that Jerry knows that he got from Grady that Grady knew because he got it from Crowley himself, that the OTO isn't privy to these days. And as Jerry says that he's writing this book to preserve this stuff so it doesn't get lost to time. And then, it's like stuff like this. You can trace from Crowley to Grady, from Crowley to Jane, from Grady to Jerry, from Jane to Phyllis. And these people are sadly getting old and passing away, And if this stuff isn't passed on or immortalized in this book, 200 or 300 years from now, who knows? Who knows where we'll be? I mean, I'm a firm believer that we are in the infancy of the Aeon of Horrors, and we're in the infancy of Thelema. And if you think about what it had to be like in the early days of Christianity, the first 200 or 300 years, a lot of the books of the Bible weren't even written down until 200 or 300 years after the supposed life of Christ. So fortunately in this day and age we have people are literate and we have the ability to write and publish books, so this information can be preserved for future generations of Thelemites 200 or 300 years down the road. We don't have to wait to 2221 for somebody to try to piece together the life and teachings of Aleister Crowley after the fact. I also want to point out, look at this. This is about the size of Crowley's Confessions, and it's probably a little bit smaller than Richard Kaczynski's second revised edition of Perturabo. We have a lot of books about Crowley, and of course Crowley's autobiography that he wrote about himself. Where do you see this much information about Jane Wolfe? Where else do you see this much information about Grady? And this is a biography of Grady written by Jerry, one of the people that knew him better than anybody. Maybe Phyllis did, I'm sure. She was married to him, but, I don't recall Phyllis writing a biography on Grady or anything. And I just think it's very important that this stuff is saved and preserved. I mean, this is why I buy books. This is why I spend obscene amounts of money sometimes on acquiring things and putting collections together. To me, it's kind of like the Dead Sea Scrolls in a way, Maybe someday far in the future, though, someone will discover my library and I'll bring all this information to light. Maybe. I would like it to get passed on to someone who would appreciate it as much as I do and would keep it as a collection. Maybe put it in a museum somewhere. Who knows? I don't think I'm famous enough to get anything put in a museum, but who knows? But there you have it. That's the complete 13 volumes of the Red Flame Thelemic Research Journal. And yeah, there's just... I'm at a loss for words, really. I mean, what else can I say? There's so much history and teachings here that, I mean, you could spend a good part of your life just studying this series here. And I'm just sitting here. I've got them all stacked up here. I'm just looking at them and letting this all run through my head. I'm going to have to find a place amongst my extremely overburdened bookshelves here to put these up so I can put them on display. So that's gonna be a Herculean task in and of itself. Not to mention that I have such a pile of boxes and bubble wrap around me right now. I could build a fort. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this episode. Merry Crowleymas. I'm glad I could present all this material, and thanks for listening to me ramble on about it for as long as I have. Unfortunately, the second half of the original video got lost, but I think I managed to recapitulate most of the things I talked about when my camera wasn't recording me talking, which is unfortunate, but yep, I'll leave it at that. Thank everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, you know what to do. I'm glad to hear from people that watch me, and Merry Crowleymas, and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I'll see you next time.